So far what we have done is we have completed this application, created the navigation bar, created this create post fallback component so that if the user is not logged in, we will ask him to first log in to post and comment. And we also implemented the sign in with Google option. Now, if you haven't watched that one, the link to the part 1 will be in the description. This is the application which we are trying to build. Okay, so now what we are going to do is we are going to continue creating the create post option, which is this one. So we will have this text where we will show that, create post. We will have this text area where a user can submit the caption, and he can select an image like this. So let me show you how he can select an image. For example, let's say he selects this image. Okay, he can select an image. That image will be visible. He can write the caption, and only once he write the caption, then this upload option will be available, right? So this is the whole create a post section. So let's go ahead and create that. So first and foremost, we are going to make sure that if the user is signed in, which like signed in with Google, then we will not show this fallback option. So how we can do that? We will go inside the create post component, and over there we will first use this user. So how we are going to do that? We are going to say use state. We will get that user, and we will make sure that we are getting the data from use context, because we are getting and saving that data to context API, which is the user context. And then we will say dot user. Okay, now we are getting the user which we saved once we signed in with Google. Now we will check if this user exists or not. So I'm going to go inside it, and I'll say user question mark. If the user exists, right, then we will show a paragraph create post. If he or she does not exist, then I'll just say sign in, and I'll wrap these two inside a div. Okay, like that. Okay, so now if I'll just save this, let me get rid of that, go to this and make sure this is running perfectly. So it is not, it is saying use context is not defined. Where it is saying that, it is saying that in 7, line number 7 and this. So we need to import this use context. So I'm just going to go above here and import that. If I'll save that, you can see it's compiling now. And yeah, so what I'm saying is if user exists, then show create post. If it does not, then only show this. So not sure why it is happening. So let me just go ahead and reload. So you can see now we have this sign in with Google to post comment, and it is still showing that because it's not logged signed in with Google. So let's sign in with Google again and check if we still see this sign in option or we see this create post option. So I'm going to just click on my email, wait for a second, and yeah, I can see I have this create post option. Now I want this to look like this, right? So let's go ahead and create this particular create post option. So the first thing which you can see is it's going to have this much width, right? Okay, so first what we will do is we will have this create post at the top. So we already have that, but we want that to be inside of a div, and I'm going to create a div around it. Okay, then what do we want? We want a text area below that. So I'm just going to go ahead and create another div. This is going to be the center div. Basically, the whole reason why I'm creating another div is this center div will consist of two things. This first is this caption, where a user can text area where a user can write the caption, and an image that will be considered inside of this one. So I'll first start with the text area. So I'll say text area, and I'll give all the properties which are required for the text area. So the first one which I will give is the class name. The class name will be used to provide all the different properties like CSS and stuff like that. So I'm just going to say create post, and I'll say text area. Now this is the BAM naming convention that what I'm using, and I can say this create post, and just make it above text area to be class name, because we will be required to provide this one styling as well. So I'll say logged in center. So if the user is logged in, then that logged in div center is this one, right? Hope it makes sense. And now if I can just copy that, I can go in here, and this is going to be called create post logged in, this whole div which is shown if the user is logged in. right? So I can now close that. Let me go over here, and you can see we have this beautiful, not too beautiful, but a text area, right? So now what we want is another properties for the text area. So what are these? The first thing is we want to define that the maximum rows, like this, these are right now 2, right? How many lines we can write? They should be 3. So to provide this option that, you know, the number of lines should be 3, we just need to just go inside this text area and mention rows equals to 3, like that. Now the next thing which I want is, I want this to have a width, right? That will be taken care by this classes, so that we can provide that through the CSS. But the other thing is the value. This all value which is written, I need to find a way so that I can get this value, so that I can do something with it later on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another hook. So I'm going to say use state, and I'm going to call this caption. And this function which is going to set the caption is going to be called set caption. I usually go for this camel case. Now the initial value for the caption is going to be this, right? And this is how the whole user state works. As I said, if you watch the video till the end, you learn more and more how I'm using this user state, and it will be much more clear, right? So once we define this hook, what we can do is we can just say inside of it value is equals to that caption. I hope this makes sense. Now what I want is, whenever we will change, so whenever I will write something on that particular text area, it should be set to this particular caption, right? Otherwise this value will not be updating, right? This caption will always be blank. Whatever we are writing, it does not matter. So first we have to import this user state. So I'll do that. Done. Now what I want to do is, there is a function of onChange. So I'll say onChange. And in the function of onChange, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this e. This is the value which we get as a return in this function. So I can say set caption e dot target dot value. This will give us the value what we have written inside of that text box, so that it will be updated to the value. So now if I write something, you can see now it's updating. If I get rid of this particular line and save that, and now if I try to write something, you can see it's not actually going to work. If I just save that, you can see it's not actually working. I am clicking. So that's just something you can experiment on your own as well. Okay, so that was all about creating the text area. Now we have to move on and create this button so that we can select an image which we can show them, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another div below this. So before showing the image, let's first create how we can select an image. Makes sense, right? So how we are going to do is, this is going to be a button, right? Upload will be a button. While this selection of an image, we use an input. So I will create an input, and that input will have a type of file, and it will accept image. So I can say image slash star, and then we have an onChange property. So in the onChange, we can say handle change. So this is nothing but a simple function, and this is going to be a simple function which I will create like this: constant handle change is equals to like that, and right. You can also create a function like this, just your preference. I usually go with this now. Okay, so now I have defined the function, but I am not ending the input, right? So we'll do that soon, but like this. Okay, so what I have done is I have provided the type, I have provided the accept image, and I have provided the onChange function. So whenever it will change, we will get this e again, and in this one we can use that e to get that particular file. So what is next? So let me first show you that it works. So you can see it works, right? But it's not all. It's just an option for us to select. All the option to show that image like this, this one will be done through this handle change function. Okay, so now what is the next thing which we should do? Well, the first thing which we want is, we don't want to show this choose file input, right? We want to show this material icon, which is this camera icon. So let's see how we can use this material icon. So to use the material icon, we will visit material-ui.com. This is a website from where you can get a lot of different components, especially all the material components. So you can visit this website to know more about it. So first we will start by installing this. So I am using yarn. If you're using npm, just use that. And I'm just going to paste it like this. Yarn add material UI core. While using this material UI core, you will have a lot of different options available. You can, create tabs, you can create all these cards, button, a lot of material components, right, which are available. So to know more about it, you can visit materialui.com. What we will be using is we will be using this icon. So let me show you that. Where is that? Not able to find the search button on this. Let me go back. So all you have to do is click over here in the search, just type icons. Okay, so I'll click on icons, and once you click on that, let's import that again as well. So we imported the material UI core, and then we imported the material icons. So let's just give it a second or so, and let's just wait for a minute or so. Once this will be done, we will be directly visiting this search the full list of these icons, and over there what we will do is, let me just wait for it. Okay, so it was some issues in that particular tab. So now you can see we have all these icons available. So I'm going to just search for camera, and there will be this add a photo. You just have to copy this, visit this at the top, and just paste it here. To use this icon, you just have to paste it over here. So I'm just going to paste the icon, paste the slash, and just save it. Okay, so that's how you can add the icon. So if you will go now, you will be able to see that icon. But that's not exactly what I want. What I want is, first of all, whenever I will click on this button, this choose file option will work through that. And I also don't want to show the input. So let me show you how exactly you can do that. So the first thing is we will provide an ID to our input. So I'll say ID is equals to file input. Then what I will say is this particular add photo icon, that I'll provide it a little bit of styling. So I'll say style is equals to cursor. So what I want is when someone put the cursor above it, it should be a pointer, which is like this arrow kind of icon. So which you can see like this finger kind of icon, like that. So that's the first thing. Then I also want to decrease the size of it a little bit. So I'll say font size, and I'll provide that to around 20 pixels. Once I'll save that, what I'll do is, just a second, I'll provide the div a particular class. And that class is going to be create post, create. As you may already know, this is how we are defining the name. So it is going to be called create post image upload. Okay, so that's basically it. Now what we want is, we want this input to have this add photo icon as a label. What is label? Well, label is nothing but, so for example, if you have an input field, it can have a label, which is the starting point of it, right? It can have a text or something, or can have another widget. So basically, once I will add a label, and then I can define that, this label is HTML for, and you just have to provide the ID. Now what will happen is, now if you will click on this icon, this camera icon, I'm not clicking on this choose file, I'm clicking on the this camera icon. Let me show you again. Okay, so I'm clicking on the camera icon, but this choose file option is working. So that's exactly what I wanted, but I don't want to show this input. So how can I get rid of that? So you just have to select this class, close all the others so that we don't have any other distractions. Go into the CSS file, make an arrow and say input. Sorry for that. And just say input. Okay, and inside of that input, what you have to mention is display now. So did you get what I did? I basically said that inside of this this particular class name div, what you have to do, find the input. So all the input inside of this class div will be display none, right? That's exactly what happened. Just give me a quick second. Close all the stuff. Yeah. So I hope this is clear so far. Like what we have done is basically get rid of that. Okay, that's done. We want this upload button now. So let me move on and create that upload button. So this is all about the image upload. So let me get rid of that. Now the next thing is going to be a button. So I'll say button, and that button is going to be none of the other than this upload button. So I'll say upload. And what do I want from this button? The first thing is, I don't want the button to be how it actually look like, the default one. So that's why we will have some kind of styling. So we are providing the class name, which will of course start with create post, and it will be called upload button. Right now, this is all for styling. Next, what we want to provide it a on-click property. So what will happen when someone will click on it? So what I can do is I can create a function called constant handle change, or we have already given that handle upload. Sorry, we can create a handle upload. So basically what I want is whenever someone will click on the upload button, we should handle the upload. So whatever we have to do for uploading, like checking if that image exists, and all of that stuff will be happening, and uploading the image, getting the download URL, uploading the Firestore, and all of that stuff, right? All of that happen inside this handle upload, and this will be called whenever someone will click on this upload button. Now, the next thing is I want to provide it a style. So one style which is a little bit of a custom, not directly provided in the CSS, is the change of color. So whenever I write something, then only this color brightens up. If I have nothing in the caption, then it becomes a little bit of a gray. So that can be done through styling inside JSX. So I can just go in here, I can just say color, and then I can use the caption hook which we have created, and I can say question mark. Okay, so this will all return false if it is blank, which means the defined initial value, this one, right? So now what I can say is if it has some value, which means there is something written on it, then what you should do is you should have a color of black. If there is nothing written, then just have a color of light gray. Makes sense? So if I'll save that, this is a very kind of button, but if I get rid of it, you can see the color of it, right? Are you able to see that? Okay, good. Now what we want is, let's go ahead and provide a little bit of a styling to our upload button. It really looks quite not exactly what I want, right? So first of all, I don't want the border. I don't want the background color either. So I'll say background color to be, I don't think we need to provide that. Just a second. Let me just say background color white, because we will be having that white background to all of it. So to all of it, I mean create post logged in. So let me provide that background color white. Now if I'll have a look at it, this is how it looks like, and this is exactly what we want, right? So how can we change this to that? Well, let's start step by step. First, I want this upload to be at this right hand side of this image icon. So how can I do that? Well, let me see where it is. So this is here, this button is here, and this div is here. First of all, make sure they are in a single div. So I'm just going to cut both of them and create a new div, and inside of that div, I'll have both of these. Now I hope you are getting the point why I'm doing this. Basically, now what I can do is I can give it a class name, which will of course start with create post, and then I can say this is the bottom tab, or just giving it like logged in bottom. So like I have given this logged in center, let me call it logged in bottom, and getting rid of center, I can say logged in bottom. This is just a name, class name, however you want to give it. But the property which we want to provide to it is display flex, which will basically help us arrange these side by side. The next property is we want the space between them, just like we did for the navigation bar, right? So how can we do that? We can just say justify content, and I'll say space between. So if I'll do that, you can see we have that good condition. But now, right now, it's not exactly what we want, right? So what we want first of all is to have a good width. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in this one. I'll say width, and I'll provide the width to be 100%. Let's see what this does. So you can see it's trying to take the whole space, but I also want to make sure that the maximum width should be 650 pixels. So this is what we end with. Now we want to provide styling to this text area. It does not look good right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the class name of this. So where is the text area? We have the text area right over here. I'm going to copy that. And in the text area, the first thing which I don't want is the border. So I'll say border none. Then the next thing which I want is I want the width to be 100%, because the one thing which I can notice is, the width is just like that. I also don't like this outline. So let me get rid of that. So I'll say outline, and outline is only when it's focused, not like always. So we need to provide the property separately. So I'll say focus outline. Let me first get rid of all these double things which we did. outline, and I'll say none. So now if I'll save it, you can see it should not have outline. Let me make sure of that. What did I do wrong? Let me just save it again. Okay, now you can see it does not have an outline. We need a little bit of a padding, so let me check how much I provided. I also give it a little bit of a border radius, right? So let me give that as well. So where is the logged in? Create logged in. So I'll just give it a border radius of 4 pixel, and a little bit of a padding will not hurt. So let's just say 12 pixel and 16 pixel. I think that looks good. Let me check that out. I think the maximum width can be 600, and that will look good enough, right? And as for the font size, we can always play with these things, right? Font size and stuff like that. But you can see we have the main nitty-gritty of it. Now, this font actually is not exactly the same which we are using for the others. So I have to specifically provide the font to the text area. So how can we do that? Well, I'll just go to the app.css, not here, but here. So I'll just copy this particular line, font family, and paste it inside the text area. So if I'll do that, you can see now the font is perfectly fine. I also want the font size to be a little bit larger, so I'll just say 14 pixel, and I hope this makes a little bit larger. Now I want a little bit of a margin top, so I'm just going to say 6 pixel, and that will add a little bit of a margin from top. Now the thing which I want is whenever I'll click on this, it will select an image, but I want to show that image just above of it, right? So let's create an image component in which we can actually show that image. So I'll go inside the index.js file of create post, and just below this text area, as you can see over here, I will have the image. So here is how the image will work. Whenever we will select an image, that image will be represented just below this text area. So we will first create that div. So div, and inside of that div, over here, inside of that div, we will have that image. Now, in this image, we are not directly initially going to provide the source. The source will be provided once the image is selected. So what we will have is an on-click property. The on-click is just I'm providing so that, if a user wants to remove what image he or she have selected, then he can just click on the image and it will be deselected. So for example, if you go in here, if you will click on this image, I think I haven't implemented it there, but you get the point. So if you want to do something on click, you can. Let's leave it for now. Basically what will happen is whenever you will click and select a new image like this one, it will be updated. So let's do that. So if you go inside the image, we can just say ID. Now this ID is to basically control. So whenever we will select an image from the function itself, we can say that the element with this ID should have the source of the file which we just selected. If that all does not, the last line which I said does not make sense, don't worry, we are going to do it and you will be able to understand just in a minute. So first I'll create this create post and I'll say image preview. Okay, so this is like that. Now it should be much more clear. So nothing, just a div, and inside of that I have an image. Now you may be asking, Sanskar, why do you have a div? Well, the reason is to control it. So for example, if I want to provide it alignment, stuff like that, that's the whole point of creating a div around it. In a lot of cases, you may not even need it depending on how you want to align it, right? So now let's move on and provide it all the steps so that we can see an image once we have selected that. So this is the function which is handling the change. Handling change of when someone selects an image. So what will happen when someone will select an image? We will get this E. Remember, we get this E in, where did we get that? Once we have this caption. So on change of text area, we get this E, right? Similarly, on change of our input field, we also get this E. Now through this E, how we can get the files? Let's see that. So first I'll make sure we have some files, right? I don't want to get files, and because if we don't even have selected any files, in that case that will cause an error. So what I'll say is e.target.files and 0. The reason for mentioning 0 is if a user have selected more than one file, we just want to select the first image. So what I will do now is I'll create a new hook here. I'll call it use state, and this one, and I'll say this should be called image, right? So I say it is image, and initially this will be null. So I'll say. So once we have selected an image, I can just say set image, and I can provide this e.target.files. So this will update my image component. Now what I will do is I want to show this image on that image component, or basically the HTML, whatever we call that, where it is this one. I want to provide this particular element which have an ID of image preview, the source to this the file which we have selected. So first we need to get the URL for this file. So how can we get that? I'll create a variable and call it selected image source src. Correct? Then how can we get that? We can just say URL dot create object URL, right? And then I can say e.target dot files, and then I can say 0, which is the first file, and this will provide us the source. Now what we want to do is we want to provide this source to that image which have an ID of image preview. So I'll create a new variable image preview is equals to document dot get element by ID. Sorry. So I'm doing nothing but basically selecting that element from the DOM. Okay, that's what document dot element get by ID does. So over here I can provide the ID. I can say image preview, and then I can say image preview done. Okay, once that is done, then I can say image preview dot source is equals to selected image source. So I am providing the source to it. Now initially what I am going to do is I am going to provide the display as a none, which means it should not be visible initially, because if there is no source provided, you know what will happen, right? It will have that kind of a fallback image which it does, right? So we don't want that. So that's why what I will do is initially it will be display none, but once we have selected and applied the source to it, then I'll say image preview, which is that particular selected DOM element image. I'll say dot style dot, then I'll provide the display is equals to block. Okay, so as I said, initially I should go ahead and provide that to be display none. So I'm just going to select that image, copy that, go to the settings, styles, sorry for that, styles, and then in the styles I'll say display none. If I will save that, go inside, let me close that, go over here, go to the terminal, scale it a little bit, go to our, where is this running? We have multiple open, so let me close all of them. Okay, so it seems to be working, but if I will reload, I'll be logged out, so that should not be a problem. Let me just relog in, giving it a second, just selecting the account. Okay, so now you can see we have this create post, and if I will select an image, so for example I select this dribble image, it's visible. Okay, so now we need to make sure it's visible like this, not like this. Okay, so let's see how we can do that. So first let me close this terminal, go back, and this is the ID of it, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to provide it a height, max height actually. So the max height is going to be something around let's say 140 pixel. So if I'll save that, it will not exactly work directly. So then what I want is let's just provide it a fixed height, right? I can just say height can be 140 pixel, and it's not directly working. Okay, so to provide that we need to use a hash. Why? Because image preview is an ID, not a class name. If I'll save that, you can see now it's taking the shape. I think 120 is enough. How much I provided before? Yeah, so I provided maximum of 80. So I can just go and provide it the same 80, and can have a little bit of a margin. From top and bottom, I just want around 6 pixel, and from sides I want nothing. So you can see now we have a little bit of padding. I can just say 8 margin, basically a little bit of space, maybe 12. You can always play with this number. Now I also want a little bit of a border radius, so I can say border radius around 4 pixel, and if I'll save that, you can see we have that border radius. Okay, now it looks good. I can provide a caption. Now one thing. We don't have something to understand that we need to write the caption here. So let's go to our text area where it is. Here we go, and provide it a placeholder. And this is nothing but a hint text. So enter caption here, right? So if I'll save that, if there will be no text, this will be visible. So you can see we have this enter caption here. So now you can write a caption here. So far, any question, feel free to write them down in the comment and I'll be more than happy to answer you for that. Okay, so far we have created the create post. The next thing which we will be doing is uploading this image to our Firebase storage and then getting the download URL and uploading all of the content, caption, download URL, username, user profile picture to our Firebase Firestore. So let me open up that again. I did close it somehow. I'm not sure how I did that, but yeah. So let me go to my console in the other account actually. Let me reload this. I'll click on this. I will visit my account in which I created the Flutter project, which is connected with this React project. And that is this React Insta tutorial. I'm going to open that up. Go to Cloud Firestore. Wait for it. And we will click on Create Database. Now we have two options to get started with. First is the production mode and the second one is the test mode. I will recommend to go with the production mode. Then just select a Cloud Firestore location and enable them. So now Firebase Firestore has been created, and what you have to do now is click on the rules because we selected the first option, which was in the production mode. So basically, neither is user allowed to write, neither he is allowed to read something. So we need to change this to true. So now what will happen is user will be able to read and write from the database without needing to be authenticated even, right? So let me just do that, and that is done. Before even we will use Firestore, we will be using Firebase Storage because we will first upload the image, get the download URL, and then only we will upload the whole content to the Firebase Firestore. So let me first change the rules here as well. I'm going to go inside the rules and I will update that to be true always. So basically the user is not required to be authenticated to read and write the database. He can directly access the whole database without being authenticated. Okay, now that part is taken care of. Now let's move on to the functions which we will create in our React application, which are going to be responsible for uploading all of that content which we need. So let me go back to the create post option. And what will happen is I'll write something here. So this is a caption. Now what I want to do is I will first upload this image. Okay. Whenever someone will click on this upload button. So whenever someone will click on this upload button, what function is called? This handle upload function is called. Okay. So what I will do is I will first check inside of this function that if the image is selected or not. To select if the image is selected or not, all you have to do is just say if image. Okay. Once we will check if the image is selected or not, if it is selected, then what I will do is I'll say constant upload task, okay, is equals to is storage. Now this storage is the one which we created inside the Firebase.js file. Dot reference to get the reference of the storage, you know, the main one. And inside of that, I want to create a folder. And that folder is going to be called images. Now you will be like, Sanskar, why did you use this backtick rather than using the other kind of like maybe this one or maybe this one? Why didn't you use those compared to you using this backtick? So the reason for that is whenever inside of a string you want to use a variable, you will use this backtick one. So now inside of this, I would like to actually say like this. So this is the images folder, and inside of that image folder, I want to add my image. Okay. Now one option is you can say $image.name. Now this will get the name of the image which is selected, but that's not exactly what I want. What I want is, because one thing, just think of it for a moment. I selected an image called download. Okay. And another user who was using this application also selected an image which was named download. Both the images were saved inside the same folder images. So what will happen is the last image will be written by this next image. So I hope it makes sense to you that that all the things will be changed, right? So what I will do is, rather than doing it like this, I will get a function to generate a random 10-digit string, which is going to be the name of my image. This makes sense, right? Let me know in the comment. Maybe not in the center, but yeah, if you have it, you're not able to understand, let me know. So basically what I will do is I will generate a random string. Now to generate a random string, I'm not going to show you how to write a function for that because it does not make sense. I myself just let me create a new file and I can call it functions.js. So I have a function. Let me show you that where it is. So for these kind of functions, I usually don't recommend writing them from scratch. You can easily get them available from Stack Overflow or something, right? So here's the thing. This is a simple function. What this function does is, it's called make ID. You just need to provide it a length. So let's say if I provided the length to be 10, it will give me a random alphanumeric string of 10 digits, which will include a number, which will include the characters. So that's exactly what I want. So I'm going to just call this function from index.js. Just if you are not able to get this, just pause the video and you can write it all and then move to your index.js. And here what I will do is I'll get this name. So what I will do is I'll create a variable and call image name is equals to make ID. Okay, and I will give it 10. Now first thing first, let me make sure make ID is imported. Is it? No, it is not. So I'll say make ID and make sure it's imported. Let me go back and yeah, it is imported now. So this will generate a random alphanumeric key for my image name. So rather than using the name of the image which I have selected, I will use this. Now every image have an extension. It can be .png, it can be .jpg. I'm going to go to use JPG. You can use PNG as well. So that's basically what I have done so far is I have defined that this is the place where I would like to save my image, which is inside the images folder as a name of image name.jpg. Okay, so what is next? Next is to put that image. So I'll just say dot put. So this particular code was just to mention where we want to save our image, and this put will now save the image to over there. So we want to put this image. Okay, now what we will do is we will create upload task dot on. So this will basically listen for the events. The exact events which I want to listen for is when it is happening. So I would like to show kind of a process, how much percentage it is done. You can show it wherever you want, but I would like to know whenever the progress is updating, like 1% image uploaded, 2% uploaded, 3% uploaded, and so on. Also, I would like to get an update when it is completed. So once it is completed, I can get the download URL, and that is the whole point of using this on. So once you will use on, I'll first start by using the state changed, which is like this. Okay, and all you have to do is you just have to create it like that. You will just say how we create a function, right? A normal arrow function like this, and this one will have a snapshot, which we can use, okay, through this state change. So what I will do is here, what we are doing, let me add a comment as well. So this is the progress function, okay, to keep a progress of like 1%, 2%, and so on, like that. So how can we get that? We can just say constant. We can say progress is equals to math.round. Why am I using math.round? You will get to know. So basically what I'm doing is through this snapshot which we have, okay, this snapshot which we get, I'm going to say dot bytes, bytes, bytes transferred divided by snapshot dot total bytes. I hope this makes sense. So the total bytes, which is the size transferred divided by the total bytes, multiply by 100, right? And I'm just rounding it off because that will be a double value, which means kind of a dot something, like for example 4 point something, 10 point something, things like that. I'm just rounding it off so that it's always in like this 1%, 2%, 3%, like a natural number, right? Okay, so that's so far done, and now we need to save this progress somewhere, right? So I'm going to create one more hook for this. I'm going to say use a state and this one, and I'm going to say progress. And what I'm going to do is update this to capital P. Initial value is going to be 0. I hope everything makes sense so far. Now I'm going to set the progress to the progress just created, this one. Okay, what is next? Now I also want to keep a track if there is any kind of error happen. So how can we do that? Just after this, you can say error, and then you can say if any kind of error happens, what I want to do is console.log error, and then just save that. Clear? You can also add an alert if you like, but we are not going to do that for now. Then what we are going to do is, once all of this is done, just after this end of this, I'm going to just add a comma and a function, arrow function. Now this is the last arrow function, and this is where we are going to get the download URL and upload the post info. Make sense, right? So this is basically like when the on complete happens, when it is uploaded. So first of all, I'll say storage dot reference dot then images dot child, and then we will provide the image name. So I'll say backtick. Why am I using backtick again? Because I'm using a variable inside of a string. I'll provide the image name, and then I'll say .jpg. So what have I done so far? Let me just do the one more thing, get download URL. So what I basically did is I uploaded the image over here, storage reference, inside of that creating a folder images, and inside of that image by this image name .jpg. So what I'm doing is I'm saying storage referenced image, which is dot, then giving the folder name, and then saying child, which is the name of image.jpg, making sure exactly the same. You cannot mention PNG over here. If it is PNG here, then PNG here. If it's JPG here, making sure this is exactly the same address, right? So once I am mentioning the same exact address, I can say dot get download URL. Okay, I hope this all makes sense now. So once we get the download URL, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say dot then, and this will have the image URL, which we can now use. Now let me create the arrow function again, and this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and upload all of this content to our Firebase Firestore database. So how can we access that? Well, we created DB in our Firebase. I hope you remember. Just let me show you if you do. Firebase app.firestore. So what we can do is db.collection. Okay, inside of that, I can just say post. Sorry for that. So basically what I'm doing is I'm going inside my Cloud Firestore, and this is how the Cloud Firestore works. We have a collection post, like this is how we are going to create it. We will have a collection post. Inside of that, we will have a post which will have a timestamp. Okay, this timestamp is actually a timestamp. Let's say select our date, and I can say 12:00. So this is the timestamp. The next thing which I will provide is the caption. So the caption can be, hello, this is my first post. And then we have a photo URL. So this photo URL is actually, so we will have two image URL. The first one is going to be the profile picture, and this is actually the photo, like this one. So I'm just going to say open images, new tabs, just to get the URL of this one, and I'll save that here. Now we have the photo URL. What next? We want to provide the username. So for username, you can just say the Indian app guy. Okay. Moving on, we have the username done. Now the last thing is the photo URL. So photo URL, and I'm going to get that through this one. So I'll say open image in new tab, and I'll paste it here. So this is how the content or the data of our application is going to be organized. Any post we add, it will be added just over here, just like this document. Okay, so let's see how we can do that. Let's move on. Let me close these images. We have the data. I think this is a little bit more stretched. Not sure. Yeah, we can increase the padding and play with it. Okay, anyhow, what we want to do now is we are uploading the data. So we are inside the collection, this one, post. And what we will do is we will say dot add. This is how we add a document. So I'll say dot add, and then we will provide a map. What is a map? Map is a collection of key value pair, and that is exactly how we save data in Firebase Firestore. We have this key, which is caption, and it has a value of hello, this is my first project post. So let's define the key. So the first key is timestamp. And now there are multiple ways actually to get the time. First is you can get the device time. Now I will not recommend getting the device time, is because the time can be different for different people accessing our website. So what I will do is I will get the timestamp from our server, not through the customer. So this is how we get timestamp from our Firebase server. So you have to say Firebase.firestore.field value, FIELD, and value. Let's make sure we have imported Firebase in this, otherwise this will not work. So we have to import Firebase from Firebase. Okay, yeah. Now once we have, where are we? Okay, here, then field value, then dot server timestamp, and that's all. So basically how this timestamp is works is, whenever your document will be added to the database, it will add the timestamp of that exact second. Okay, so now the next part is the caption. So we have saved the caption in our caption hook, so we can directly provide that. For photo URL, we just got this. Here is the image URL, which is the photo URL, by the way. What is next? Well, the next is the username. So username, we are not actually saving this username. So what I am going to do is I am going to use this user which we have, and from this user email, I will say dot email. This will provide me the email of that user, and I will say dot replace. First, what I will do, I will remove the spaces if it have any. Well, the email is not going to have spaces for most of the parts, so we can leave that. But what most important is, we need to get rid of @gmail.com. Now, because the users are signing in with Google, their email will be always @gmail.com. So I'm going to just remove the @gmail.com with this. So that will give us the username. So just giving you an example, my website email is react.official@gmail.com. In that case, if we remove this, then we are left with this username. Hope that makes sense. So that's what I'm doing. That is the username of the user. Correct. The next thing is the photo URL. So I'll give a photo URL, and we will just get the photo URL like this. So I'll say photo URL. We have already, I have already shown you how I know we can get it like this through the inspect element. So I hope that is clear. Now we can save this, and let me just give it a look. Okay, so where would you like me to show the progress? What we can do is we can show the progress just side of this button. So what I'm going to do is, where is this upload button? I'm just going to wrap it inside of this and have it like this. So this is the upload string, but I'm also going to show the progress here. And I'll make sure if the progress is not equals to 0, then only I'm showing this. So if progress is not equals to 0, then I'll say show progress. Otherwise, just show nothing. And if I'll copy paste that, if I save that and write something here, let me select an image. So this is the image I've selected. This is the content. I have my Firebase Firestore database open. I'm going to open the storage as well, so that if an image is added, we can see. I am making sure that I have the security rules updated so that even a non-authenticated user can upload. Just for starting, we know that our users are authenticated, but just for making sure. So we have this image selected, we have the text. So now what are we waiting for? Let's just click on the upload. If I will do that, you can see upload 74 and upload 100. So once this is done, it's actually uploaded. So let me reload this storage of ours, and tada, we have our image in our database. And you can see the image is named this, which is a random alphanumeric string generated through the function which we had, and I provided .jpg, and that is exactly what we used. Now if we look at our Firestore, you can see a new document has been added as well, with the caption which I provided here and with the image which we just uploaded. I guess we missed the image. Let me just check, double check why the image URL is not uploaded. So here is the image URL which we are getting. We might just a second. So the thing is, this image URL is not uploaded, which is this photo URL, right? Other than that, actually photo URL is uploaded, but this is Google. Okay, so I made a mistake. So basically this photo URL was rewritten by this next one. So this one is actually going to be called a profile URL. So I'll call it profile URL. Now it will work fine. So what I will do is I'll cut this out, create a new field, call it this profile URL, provide that here, add this. You can see the username is working fine, right? This email replace one. And for the photo URL, we will use this one page. So I'll get the download URL like this. Just click on it, get the download URL, and update that to this photo URL. Okay, so that all concludes uploading the data. Now the next and the final part is that post. This is the most interesting one, I guess. The best one actually, the thing which is taking the most space. So yeah, let's go ahead and create that post.